Ashleigh Hulsey from the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, who you just saw in that press conference. Ms. Hulsey, it's great to have you. Thank you so much for joining me on the program tonight. Can I ask you, what was it that specifically led to the arrest of Sarah Grace Patrick this week after almost 6 months since the killings?
Well, as I'm sure you're aware, Ashley, covering crime cases for so many years as you have, it doesn't happen overnight. I know everybody from the very beginning wanted an arrest and wanted somebody taken into custody. I wish it was that simple. But there are mountains of evidence you have to go through. In the times that we live in today, not only do you have the forensic and the DNA evidence, but you also have a lot of digital evidence as well. And sometimes that takes a long time for those things to return from different labs and whatnot. So I can't give you the specifics on exactly what pieces of evidence led us to the arrest on Tuesday, but I can tell you that it was how we followed the case, how the evidence came to be, and that is what led us to the arrest of Sarah Grace on Tuesday.
So I totally get you. A lot of people these days think that, you know, murders are solved like they are on the TV shows, CSI and Forensic Files, and then they're not. It takes a lot longer. You're right. However, I will say this. Arrests are usually fairly quick, especially when you have somebody who's a suspect who's 17, because the 17-year-olds aren't the most clever of the bunch. And that's why I was sort of flummoxed with the length of time it took. What kind of digital trail did you discover? I mean, have you got phones and laptops?
Well,
have you got tapped phones? Have you got just messaging? Like, what have you got?
Well, backing up just a little bit, in the beginning of this, everybody was a suspect. It wasn't that we immediately honed in on Sarah. Names were given to us of other individuals that could possibly have a motive or something like that. So those people have to be ruled out, right? And we have to make sure at the end of the day that we feel confident that we are taking the right person in custody, especially when you're dealing with someone who is grieving possibly the loss of their parents. But throughout this investigation, as you've seen yourself through TikTok and other social media platforms, not only do you have all of that to sift through, but you may have phone records, you may have different types of geographical records that have to be sifted through as well. And unfortunately, that takes a lot of time to get those warrants back and be able to have somebody process all of that evidence. So we did not rush to judgment. She is just charged in this phase right now, so that's where we're at today.
So was there anything about Sarah Grace's 911 call that raised the hackles and made you think, red flag, time to look more deeply at her?
Not that I'm aware of. I believe that the story that we were given that morning, of course, was that the sister of Sarah Grace, the little girl, she was 5 at the time, she's 6 now, woke up and found her parents deceased and then came and told Sarah, who then made the 911 call.
You're saying it's a story. Are you saying it's just a story, or are you saying it's possibly accurate?
I'm telling you that the 911 call came in from Sarah after her sister found them, and that is all I know at this point.
So you still do believe that the 5-year-old, now 6-year-old child made the discovery and told Sarah about it?
Yes. And of course, we've conducted forensic interviews with the child as well.
Okay. That's always hard, too. Wow, when they're 5 and 6 years old, those are really tricky.
Absolutely.
What about that eulogy, Ashley? The eulogy, I found it hard to even understand. We put captioning on the screen because it seemed like she was terribly distraught. Was there anything in the eulogy that stood out to you that was a clue?
I was not personally there. We did have investigators that, of course, went to the funeral. I've said this before, in any situation where we don't make an arrest right away, you know, we always want to be present, not only to support the family through their grief at the funeral, but to make sure that nothing stands out. I will say, to me, just watching it online, you know, I can't tell you if she had real tears. I wasn't there to see it in person, but it seemed odd. It was more like a speech. And at the end, you know, she said, "I'm sorry." Was that, "I'm sorry because I may have done this," or is it, "I'm sorry because I was upset during this eulogy"? We may never know the answer to that, but that did stand out to me at the time.
Then also the TikToks, the social media. Was there anything in the social media that you found odd, that you found, tweaked your interest to look further at her, or that stood out as an absolute clue and was a piece of the puzzle?
So I'm not the investigator that investigated the case. I get this information from the investigators to pass on what I'm able to the public. But I can tell you that her social media was followed, and the trails still continue to be followed today, because when you want to post your life online, it becomes fair game during an investigation like this.
That's fascinating. There's one other thing that I found interesting. You said more arrests could be possible. Can you elaborate a little on that?
So what we believe is through, interviews that we have had with Sarah, her father has been present during those as well. Different information that we've gotten throughout the course of the investigation, and now that she's in custody, could possibly lead to other individuals that may have been a part of this. So that is what we're following now, are those leads and seeing where that takes us. But we're not ruling it out.
When you say a part of this, do you mean a part of the actual killings, a part of the, accessory after the fact, harboring, or what?
Well, it's hard to
thinking?
tell. It's hard to tell, but I can tell you that we're looking at a couple of different aspects that someone could have been involved or had knowledge, and we won't know all those facts until we continue to work this case. It remains a very active and fluid case, and just because we made an arrest doesn't mean we don't still have a lot of work to do.
Ms. Hulsey, is Sarah Grace cooperating? I know the last I heard they were looking for a public defender, or maybe even a private defense attorney who might volunteer his or her services. But in the interim, is she cooperating with investigators and talking while in custody?
Up until the arrest, yes, she has been cooperative. Her dad has been cooperative. Any of the family that we've reached out to has been. I do believe that she has a public defender at this point. I have not been privy to the information since she has been placed in custody, so I don't know what those conversations have been since then.
But you think she was cooperating up until the arrest. You're just not sure if she's still cooperating since arrest. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Is there anything I'm missing that you can tell me that I haven't asked?
What I would say is this, one reason why I'm thankful to be given this platform to do these interviews is, as humans, we have conversations with people every day, and they may be very benign, but then you hear a little piece of something that happens, like Sarah Grace being arrested, and maybe you've had a conversation with Sarah, or maybe you've had a conversation with someone else within our community or within the social media world that maybe now means something different than it did then. So I would tell everyone that if you have a little piece of the puzzle that may help us, we urge you to contact the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, because it may seem insignificant, but it could actually be a big deal. And, our end goal is to provide justice for the victims, for the little girl. I mean, she's really the most innocent victim in all of this, the 6-year-old, but also to be able to provide a full closure to the family who very much deserves that.
Yeah, it's a good call to action, and every little detail in an investigation, can't stress that enough. Every little detail can actually be really big. Ashleigh Hulsey, it's really good to have you. Keep us posted, will you?
Thank you. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. Thank you for having me.
Anybody who's named Ashleigh is welcome back. Thanks so much. All right. In the days after the murders, Kristen Brock's father, that would be Sarah Grace's grandfather, offered a $5,000 reward to help find the killer. His name is Dennis Nolan, and he told reporters, and I quote, "These murders, whoever did them, was cold-blooded." But now his own granddaughter's been arrested, and Nolan is firmly in her corner. He says that Grandpa, was Sarah Grace's first call from jail, and Nolan spoke exclusively with our Alex Capriello.
Ashleigh, the Carroll County Sheriff's Office says it has a mountain of both physical and digital evidence tying Sarah Grace Patrick to the murders of both her mother and her stepfather. But I just spoke to her grandfather, who believes she's innocent. He's going to continue to stand behind her and wants to actually see that evidence for himself before changing his mind.
It's hard to make any judgment at this point. You know, they have to release the evidence, and I don't understand what evidence they have. I think most of it, from what I understand, is circumstantial. And, you know, she's my granddaughter. I have to stand behind her. And she swears her innocence.
So have you had a chance to speak to the detectives?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've talked to them at length. And they don't release any information. If they had something concrete, they would have arrested her a whole lot sooner. I mean, why wait months after everyone's sort of on hold and waiting to see what, you know, what evidence they have for saying that Sarah did. I just can't imagine her. I mean, she's a sweet young lady. She's always been, you know, a wonderful little girl. What can I say? I just can't imagine her doing such a horrific thing, especially to her mother. She and her mother were very close, and they were doing great at that time. They had a great relationship.
Did they have conflicts in the past?
You know, mother-daughter always have their disagreements, but, you know, nothing serious. I just don't know. I know James had a very, you know, strange past, that he, you know, he was a convicted felon, and he, I think at one time was part of a motorcycle gang.
Do you think James's past might be something to look into?
I reflected that to the detectives early on. I said, I wonder if this is, you know, James' past and coming back to haunt him.
Have you had a chance to speak to Sarah Grace?
I spoke to her after she was in jail. She called me. Of course, she was very upset. I mean, she always looked to me more as a father figure. She was begging for me to help, and I explained to her, there's nothing I can do at this point.
Wow, so her one phone call came to you, sir?
Yeah, she was very upset. I mean, she, you know, she just was begging, please help me get out of this mess. And I told her just to do what they say and be cooperative, and we'll do what we can.
It's an unbelievable step to take, but it's not one that police and investigators take lightly to move forward with charging documents and arrest warrants. You know, of course, innocent until proven guilty, but that really is a leap for the police to take if they didn't feel like they had a case, right?
Yeah. Well, their answer to me was, she's the only one who could have done it. I said, well, what proof do you have? And he said, well, I can't tell you that, but I could just say that she's the only one who could have done it.
Sarah Grace Patrick is currently locked up and waiting for a public defender to be appointed to her. Her grandfather tells me that he'd help her find a defense attorney, but hopes someone actually steps up for the job after hearing her story and her claim of innocence. Ashleigh?
And our great thanks to Alex Capriello for that. If Sarah Grace Patrick is convicted, she faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. Think about that. At 17 years old, that could be well over 70 years in prison. No chance for parole. It's an adult charge. We're going to watch this case closely.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.